Hey everyone, my name is Tristan Ahmadi. I'm a solutions architect at ClickHouse. I'm joined here today with Alan from RunReveal. Alan, do you want us to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm the co-founder and CTO of RunReveal, and I've been a ClickHouse user, I was realizing just today, for almost 10 years.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, picked it up at Cloudflare right when it went open source. I wasn't on the team that initially implemented it there, but got exposure to it, got really engrossed in the technology, and just excited to be here.
That's quite a bit of experience. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your use case and why you're using ClickHouse today?
Sure. At RunReveal, it just kind of made sense to use ClickHouse as a database for what we're building. So for context, RunReveal is a security data platform. We're building tools to help security teams detect threats in their network. So in order to do that, we ingest data, we normalize security logs, we enrich them, and then we store them in ClickHouse for investigations, for detections, and also for AI-enabled workflows. So it's been pretty awesome, but ClickHouse in particular is useful for that because it allows us to store just obscene amounts of data in a way that can be queried and retrieved very efficiently.
Yeah.
And so we're realizing those efficiencies both in terms of query speed and just storage capacity.
Yeah, that's great. The security space is very complex, and I'd love to get your perspective on where you see it today and where you see it going.
Yeah. So the security space, my co-founder, Evan, he's really the security guy. He was the senior director of security at Cloudflare for a number of years. And one thing that we both kind of talked about before starting RunReveal is just how many tools a security team has to acquire before they can start to be effective in their job. A SIM, or a security information and event management system, is just one piece of this massive puzzle that security teams are trying to wade through and figure out all these acronyms of just an alphabet soup of products. In the past, a lot of what that looked like was you bought your SIM, which is kind of the big elephant that stores all your data, and then you bought all these add-ons for your SIM in order to make it effective. So things like user entity behavioral analytics, things like your now agentic workflows. There's a lot of add-ons you can buy for that. But ultimately, our thesis and our vision is that security teams have been, what's the saying? Once bit, twice shy, you know? Security teams have bought these tools and their data is locked in them. Tools like Splunk. Elastic's open source, of course, but it's kind of hard to migrate your data into and out of Elastic. So we saw ClickHouse, and ClickHouse, one, it's open source. Two, it's SQL, right? Yeah. So anybody who's worked with big data sets is comfortable using and integrating with a SQL database. And I think that's one of the things that needs to happen in the security space is just having the modern data stack be applied to security so that there's less vendor lock-in, and so that they're able to use a lot of these standard tools that have been existing in the analytics space for a long, long time. And it's just, we're trying to bring that to security so you can build a lot of additional features, and instead of having like this, candy box of different products that you're buying, you can just, have your security data platform and build on top of it.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those features. So for example, for a lot of these large scale organizations that have massive amounts of data coming from different sources, how does RunReveal make it easy to get that data in?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's where RunReveal really shines, I think. So my background is as a data engineer first at Cloudflare and then at Segment, where my job, especially at Segment, was integrating with dozens of different vendors and bringing in data from various sources. And so that experience taught me a lot about what's necessary in order to bring data into a pipeline. One of the things that we do is we kind of provide this white glove security data engineering service. So after talking to dozens of security teams about what they're spending the most time on, most of them said that they're just building connectors and integrations to their existing SIEM.
That's a big part of it.
That's a lot of work. And so that's where we come in, and we do first-party integrations with lots of SaaS apps, the kind of apps that security teams care about. So we consume the audit logs directly. We have a Go program that runs on our AWS infrastructure that goes and fetches these logs, does some transformations, does some normalization, does enrichment before inserting it into ClickHouse.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that enrichment process? How does that work? How do you make it possible?
Yeah, so enrichment's really important for security logs in particular. Most security logs that you get, when you get them, they're pretty basic, you know? They have like maybe a user, maybe an email, maybe a source IP address that triggered the audit log. But that data in itself is not as useful as it could be. So perfect example of this is when you're dealing with network data of any kind, it's really useful to have at a minimum like what the AS number, or like the AS number is the company that owns the IP address. What details do we have about that organization? So that will tell you which country the provider operates in.
Yeah.
And that's really useful information for a security engineer because they can tell like where things are coming from. And in particular, things like VPNs, Tor network exit nodes. These are the kinds of enrichments that you want to do inside the data pipeline itself before it gets written to long-term storage.
Yeah.
Because that stuff changes all the time. It's in flux. And if you're trying to do enrichments inside the database, like a lot of the existing SIEMs do, then you're going to have stale data.
Sure.
Because you're running the detection some amount of time after the events occurred. So that's where RunReveal really comes in and shines.
That's exciting. Any big features coming this year that you're allowed to tell us about?
Sure, yeah. We're really excited about what we're building, but most recently we released pipelines. So pipelines is a way to kind of pick and pull which sources are getting which enrichments and which transformations. One of the big things for managing a security data pipeline is, of course, cost. So a lot of the talks here today at Open House have been about how do we manage costs in terms of data ingestion. So ClickHouse already does an amazing job just with the compression ratios, allowing you to store way more and extract way more information out of a smaller deployment. But on the front end of that, you actually still can benefit a lot from doing some filtering using something like RunReveal pipelines to exclude data that's not very high value. So for example, some of our customers ingest network flow logs into their RunReveal instance. Typically you wouldn't see these in the SIEM because it's just prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
But with filters, you can filter out like all internal traffic, right? And so all you're getting is the traffic being sent to and from the internet, which is the traffic that you really care about when you're dealing with security. So with pipelines, you're able to filter that out and just store only the data that you care about. The thing that I'm perhaps the most excited about is really the stuff that we're going to do to integrate with AI workflows.
Yeah, for sure.
Today I'll be talking on a panel about model context protocol with the team and a couple others who have built using model context protocol and ClickHouse. But that is just like the beginning. We learned about model context protocol from Anthropic when they announced it in November. Then I thought it was interesting, it was kind of cool, but then we had some customers ask about it. They were, really excited about it, specifically AngelList. So AngelList has been a huge, amazing customer to give us feedback about what they would find useful in the product. Sure. So they asked us for model context protocol, and that was kind of all the impetus I needed. We kind of had other priorities at the time, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to build with a small team. But then I just did it over a weekend, and the first time I ran an investigation that was assisted by model context protocol, it just blew me away.
It's impressive. Yeah.
I just asked, like, show me the riskiest person in the network in the last 30 days. And it immediately was able to query ClickHouse, was able to list the tables, get the schemas, and figure out the queries it needed to run to find that data. It's really, really important to have a fast data store to be able to extract that.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the goal is to reduce mean time to detection.
Right.
And reduce that investigation time. We're about halfway through our first annual user conference here at ClickHouse. I'd love to hear, are there any favorite features you've heard about thus far today?
Yeah. Obviously, ClickHouse moves at 100 miles an hour, so it's like hard to pick just one. But I'm really excited about the observability stack that from the HyperDX acquisition that y'all are releasing. ClickStack, that's it. Thank you. So I'm really excited to play around with that because we're still kind of figuring out what the best observability story is for us internally, being so new, but just wicked smart people there. And obviously, like, the UI is super clean and standards based. So excited to check that out and see what we can do with that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing it. Alan, thanks so much.
Thank you, Tristan. Great to be here.